Maggrat has been out in the game for a while now, and we've had some extensive testing to do on this little goblin. And the consensus is that she's actually pretty hidden OP. So in this video, we're going to be breaking down her best pairings, her best builds, her best talents, her best artifacts, and of course, her best warpet. So stick around because you don't want to miss it. And this little green goblin is actually far more impressive than we initially thought. What is up, guys? Meower here, back with a brand new Call of Dragons video. So I've been running around some tests with Maggrat and finding out what her best pairings will be and the best builds and whatever. And her DPS kind of surprised me. So before I start breaking down what makes her so good and the brand new mechanics she brings for heroes, such as the variable healing and the big auto attacks, I want to remind you guys to please, drop the like, subscribe. It helps out the channel. But that out of the way, let's just start by breaking down what makes Margaret surprisingly pretty strong, despite her extremely ugly face. So, from the get go, let's just start by breaking down what her talent trees are going to be. There's going to be the marksman, the garrison, and the precision. Of course, garrison makes no sense because you're never going to be get away with garrison archers. The same I said for mages, and I was not wrong. Mage garrison does not survive, and neither does freaking archers. So both of them will not be good for garrison. That's out of the way. Let's break down her skills. So her first skill is pretty interesting, right? It says and it reads as follows: Magrat's Legion gains variable healing whenever they deal normal attack damage. Now, if you don't know what variable healing is, it's essentially lifesteal. So, for example, if you hit someone for 1k damage on a normal attack, you heal 50 from that 1k damage. And if you hit someone from 100 for 10k, you heal 500. So it's considered just basically 5% of every single normal attack you do, you heal that for your Legion once per turn. It is capped to only once per turn, so putting something such as Syndrome with her or a Chain Strike will not ensure more proccing. So do keep that in mind when trying it out. Also, this 450% extra normal attack that happens every 5 turns can critically strike like an exactly basic normal attack. So any augmentations for crit rates or crit damage can help this skill crit and deal quite a lot of damage. I've personally seen a report where this a normal attack deal 21,000 damage. Now, I don't know about you, but we've never seen a 21,000 damage hit on anything. Do note it was a crit, so take it with a grain of salt. However, I believe that is absolutely crazy strong. So that is it for her first skill. Her second skill reads as follows: Truth Teller. Whenever Margaret's Legion gains healing or variable healing from any source, by the way, they have a 30% chance to gain 40% attack for 3 seconds. So basically, the moment you see something like this, you want to add slightly more instances of healing into your builds so that you can ensure you roll for this bonus more. So what I mean by that, if you're getting one source of healing only, such as the variable healing from her first skill, you might want to add something like a steadfast chain strike on a warpet in order to get a second instance of healing. And 40% attack is one of those buffs that you want to keep re-rolling to get, and even double stack it if possible, because you want to keep an almost permanent uptime, as 40% attack will directly improve the 450% attack as well. So all in all, it just adds up more and more, giving her a pretty big bonk every 5 turns. Her third skill is pretty nice. Her legions deal 15% more normal attack, and they have a 20% HP bonus. Now, 20% HP bonus is pretty hefty and it's pretty good. The skill is pretty straightforward, nothing else to see here. And her last skill, and arguably, I believe, the most useless skill, and will probably not see any play, is this one. When Margaret's garrison army is in a city or stronghold, they receive healing every 10 seconds and gain attack for 4 seconds. Now, I don't know if this has a cooldown, the attack part at least, but I'll have to try it out. But I don't think this is a good skill because you don't really want to garrison with archers, especially not with stuff like Goroskogul around or the cavalry rallies that just bulldoze anything not called Goroskogul. So I would be very hesitant to garrison with archers, especially how squishy they are and their inability to survive once they're hit up front. And finally, her awakened skill just improves her 450% nuke and turns it to a 500% nuke. So pretty straightforward, pretty decent. Right off the bat, you've noticed that I've kept her to 555. I think this is like the most optimal way to build her. That's only 390 tokens. It's a relatively low investment on commander for you to get pretty much 95% of her full value, with that 5% being the extra 50% or even 90%, just not to stretch it. The last skill, I will work on her once she's in daily deals, because by then I will probably finish everything else I'm working on for myself. But I would never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, recommend anyone to invest 310 tokens on this last skill. Please don't do that mistake. Don't push her past 3 stars till you finished her first 3 initial skills. Please, 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 just keep that in mind. It is utmost important. You don't want to ruin your Maggrat by unlocking this worthless skill. Once you've gotten her first 3 skills to maxed out, then by all means do whatever you want. Alright, so now that the skills are out of the way, let's discuss the talents. Now, Maggrat's talents are pretty interesting they have because she doesn't really have a rage skill, so we're forced to play around in a completely different build. Now, I will be showing you the talent tree and I will break down why I took certain talents over others. So of course we're going to be using the precision tree as our key. We want this, we want this, and we want this. We're not going to be taking any counterattack because this march led by Maggrat is extremely squishy. So if you are dealing counterattack to someone, that means you're being attacked, and if you're being attacked, then you're going to probably end up getting deleted pretty quickly. So there is no point of getting anything counterattacky because you never want to be hit in general by when you're playing this March. Now, this is where the build will get a little interesting, and do keep this in mind. You want to get 1 point here into dedication and 1 point here into mark of war, but don't put the one more point in unstoppable till you're level 60. So this is what your tree should look like at level 43, and then you go into the marksman tree. We're going to take the extra fully loaded, and then we're going to take this one instead. We want to take less damage because there's not really other options. You never want to take steady shot because you don't want to lower your range, because with long range warfare, the moment you have slightly lower range, you walk up a little bit, you get insta deleted. So you're better off taking that extra less damage so you take less counterattack from people and from AoE. And finally, we're going to go for Bullseye as it ramps up pretty nicely with Margaret's kit and her pairing. And then for the final point, we're going to max out Unstoppable, leaving our talent to look basically like this. Now, this works for PvP and for Behemoths, and I think this is probably the most viable and most optimal build path for her. Now, if you're not going to be running her Maggrat Zaida, which brings me to the pairing section, Zaida pretty much gives Maggrat all the tools she needs to shine. She gives her the extra normal attack bonus, she gives her the march speed, she gives her even more healing, she gives her pretty much everything that she needs, and she gives her that extra crit chance so that she can potentially crit on her nuke and just proceed to delete people. A second somewhat viable option, though not extremely recommended, would be Freygar. I think Maggrat Frhagar could work pretty nicely just because of the extra crit rate from Frhagar and the extra crit damage from Frhagar as well. That will help Maggrat's third, fifth auto become a really strong nuke. But again, not really recommended. Frhagar belongs with Syndrome. We've already established that. So take this pairing with a grain of salt. I personally would not run Maggrat with anyone outside of Zyda because she doesn't really have that many other viable options that give her the tools she needs to succeed. So, just to recap the pairings, we have Margaret Zaida, which will probably be one of the highest DPS marches, especially because I've been running some tests, such as in the Behemoth raids. I kind of lost the screenshots that I had, but from what I've seen, this March, at being in such an incomplete state as it is right now, can rival Syndrome Frhagar in terms of DPS and in terms of damage versus Behemoth, and I've seen it happen. We tried it out multiple times. Margaret Zyda outperformed Syndrome Frhagar. We ran the test 9 times. We outperformed Syndrome Frhagar 5 times out of 9 without even being fully built. And the Syndrome Frhagar in the testing facility in the testing we had were fully maxed out with their proper artifact, which leads us to now the artifact. So for the artifact, of course, it's gonna be the Gilded Crossbow, because once that comes out and you pair this artifact with Margaret Zaida and you get it maxed out, you're going to be walking around with a whopping 15% enemy legion bypass and some extra march speed, some extra damage, but that 15% enemy legion bypass is just gonna be cracked out of its mind. It's gonna be absolutely gross and absolutely disgusting. Highly recommend you pick up that artifact. I know I said it could be S tier and I wanted to test, but so far it looks extremely promising, and me being an archer main, of course, I'm gonna be going towards maxing it as fast as possible. And now for the final section, which is probably going to be the Warpets. For now, we don't really have a specific Warpet for Maggrat Zyda because they're probably not in the game yet. Same way we didn't really have a proper pet for Syndrome Frhagar once they came out. So for now, I will give you a really low budget build. It will be showing up on the screen right now. We're going to be running the Night Rock with its talent, and then we're going to give it Chain Strike. We're going to give it Steadfast Chain Strike, Timely Strike, Eviscerate, Hit Weakness, Maniac Might, and the final skill will be up for your discretion. The core 6 skills will be the top 6 in order. Of course, whatever you can get, you put it in ASAP, because all of it help enable Margaret to do what she does best, which is nuke people and survive through it. One more thing that you can keep in mind with this chick is that she can actually survive through counterattack builds because she can heal through a percentage of the counterattack she's receiving, thus nullifying the effectiveness of counterattack against her. Of course, if you want to get her tokens, you can get her from the Strongest Lord, you can get her from exchanging Universal Hero tokens, or from the Wheel of Destiny that usually shows up in the first 3 days of any season. Now, if you ask me, should I get her as soon as possible? Yes. Should you awaken as soon as possible? No, she's not worth awakening as soon as possible. She is absolutely perfect at 555 1 and then awaken at your own pace. Now, that is everything that you need to know about Maggrat. We've discussed her pairings, her artifacts, her talents, her skills, and everything in between. Let me know what you guys think about her. Me personally, I was pretty shocked on how strong she really turned out to be. And a big win for us Archer mains, baby! Let's go! Plus, with the presence of long range warfare again, so I'm gonna be poking at people left and right. But yeah, on that note, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Join the Discord, the link is in the description. Feel free to ask me there anything you would like. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video. Meow meow.